Thanks for staying with Your View. Now, this is the time when JJ tells you exactly what's on his mind. And today he's talking about former Eskom CEO Brian Molefe. Let's take a listen.
Good evening and welcome to Your View. My name is JJ Tabane. You know, tonight I thought I would reflect on Brian Molefe. You know, he's been in the news, but I don't think he's been given enough attention, you know. And, I thought, he represents quite a lot of what is wrong in our society. And that's a sad thing to say, because I know Brian Molefe for many years. I met him when I think he was still a youngster, coming up, working at Treasury, and he was elevated to work at the PIC. And in fact, he caused quite a lot of companies to fear the PIC. The PIC used to have what is called shareholder activism, where they'll arrive at AGMs. You know, AGMs, some of the big companies today, particularly listed ones, where even the PIC has shares, or rather has interests, don't take AGM seriously. They go there, it's 2 minutes, they have coffee and scones, and they go, and they just say, aye. They say, all those who agree say aye, aye, then they are. That's why you got Steinhoff, where some of the most active directors or brilliant directors of companies have this scandal, this big corporate scandal happening under their nose, because they don't read the annual reports. They go to these AGMs, it lasts 2 minutes, and so on. And so the PIC, under Brian Molefe, started ensuring that when they go to AGMs, they insist on certain targets for change, targets for transformation, and proper corporate governance. So in a sense, it's sad to say, when you look now at Brian Molefe, you want to simply be able to underline things that must change about how our public officials do things. Because he's a guy with a very good track record, very competent, a no-nonsense kind of chap. And so nobody was surprised when he moved from PIC into Transnet and then into Eskom. But of course, then came the Guptas, who corrupted the guy. A guy who was an epitome of black excellence is now a poster boy for corruption and pure, forgetfulness, or rather a better term would be absent-mindedness, corporate absent-mindedness. And then he wants to say to us, oh no, I was not really at the Sexton Well complex. I may have been at the Shebeen, to show how light he took the matter. He was at the heart of state capture, because he needs to tell me what is it that he was talking to a service provider about more than 54 times. There's a number of times you'll be calling your wife. Over 2 or 3 weeks. 54 times service provider. What are you talking about if you are not, scheming nefarious things? So he couldn't explain. To this day, I don't know what explanation he has given. About what he was talking to the Guptas about. He's been corrupted so badly, and it's a bad, bad omen for our country, that youngsters who come up, are competent and so on, somewhere the crossroads, they can't choose a path. But like a wide road where they choose the wrong path, almost absent-mindedly. And Brian Molefe, unfortunately, is an example of that. And then he tries to cover it up in a bad way. I always say that, the fiction writers in South Africa are going to be out of business. Fiction writers are going to be out of business because the reality is much more bizarre. Because this guy then went to be a member of parliament. He overtook everybody on the ANC list. By the way, this is a person who resigned, crying tears, crocodile tears, one may add, at Eskom there. Crying tears of being mentioned correctly so in the state of capture report. Half a hour by MP, by backdoor, one must add, because he was never on the list. He overtook people. He was, concocted by the Northwest. I mean, we're used to these things in the Northwest. It's a very corrupt place. The ANC, there's always in shambles, always doing nefarious things. Under Mahuma Pelu, we couldn't expect any less than a crooked way. Now suddenly they say, oh no, he has a branch in Magaliesburg. I mean, he doesn't even live there. Well, I'm sure he has a holiday home there, whatever. So he's a part of a branch there, then therefore he ended up on the list to go to Parliament. He gets to Parliament. As he arrives there, it emerges that, in fact, even his membership form of the ANC, remember now, first of all, he's been a crooked member of Parliament in the way that he got there. And then, as if that's not enough, we find that he actually forged a membership of the ANC. Imagine. Le crook tsa ko FNB. Ka mo hare ba kruka, membership so that he can be able to, it can be justified that he's now on the list to Parliament. He gets there, he says, and then he sits around and waits apparently to be Minister of Finance. Can you believe it? The Gupta's handing the key file at the treasury, but if I'm to wabona, hey! But thanks God for small mercies, man. The top six apparently then resisted. They said to Zuma, I'm appealing like Brian Molefe. I am appealing. They refused for him to be a Minister of Finance. Then he's now sitting there floating around as a normal backbencher. This is a big man, who fits into the big man syndrome. He can't just be a backbencher. There's no way in hell that was going to happen. Brian Molefe. Terrible. As if that's not enough, the story continues. You will think it's fiction. If you are listening from other parts of the world, you'll think, hey, these people, this can't be true. This guy is joking. I'm not joking. He resigned as a member of Parliament and then goes back to being chief executive. Remember, he resigned. Right? In broad daylight, he resigned and said, I've got to resign. I've got to clear my name because the allegations being made here are not true. And of course, he had Ben Ngubane, the serial chairperson of boards. This time he was chairing ESCOM, right? Leaving it in a mess that it is in. The same way he left the SABC in a mess. But I'm not talking about him tonight. But he said they're threatening the country to say, if Brian Molefe leaves, it will be on the hands of the public protector. I mean, that's utter rubbish, really. Anyway, Brian Molefe goes back to ESCOM. He arrives there, he's dancing in the atrium there. This guy thinks this is a branch meeting. Dancing back in there, and of course, before long, that was also declared to be unlawful and had to be reversed. But in the process of all of these things, there has never been a mention up to that point that, in fact, he had retired. Right? There was never any indication that he had retired. But then it then became apparent that in the process he had retired and took some 33 million rands, pocketed it as part of a pension payout that was illegal. This guy is 50, he's a baby. But how do you retire at 50 and then want to run away with so much money of the public? And the big question that nobody is asking is, where was the ESCOM pension fund? Who on earth authorized that someone at 50 who in fact did not even resign properly, or they didn't even take early retirement as prescribed in the law, should be paid out 33 million rand? As I've said before many times on the show, that the courts have now become our last bastion of order. The courts have said, no, please pay back that money. All of those things reflect a number of things. One, that public officials need to be careful and not absent-minded when they are in these jobs, to see where the influence comes from, so that they do not find themselves in a Brian Molefe dilemma, where you think you are running things and people are busy using puppet mastery to run you and make sure that you at the end of the day, you look like you're a fool. You are left alone to suffer the consequences of that kind of consequence of corruption. But the questions that we are not asking is, where was the ESCOM pension fund? Did they know about this thing of Brian Molefe? And why must he be the only one who must take the fall? Surely he can't have approved his own pension. But at the same time, one must ask whether or not, after all that he had done, that his integrity, or whatever little of it was left, allowed him to go and steal pensions, pensions of ESCOM employees. It's very, very bad indeed to be able to deal with these things. Anyway, hopefully you can send us your views about that. Do you think that public officials are often in compromising positions, even at no fault of their own? Or will that be what we call a charitable explanation for Brian Molefe's corrupt ways that are now an example of how public officials, competent as they may be, must not behave? Let's take a break.